They are three of the deadliest characters ever introduced within the Dragon Ball franchise, and alone have stood the test of time with their incredible feats and powers. But what would happen if we put all three of these warriors in one place and have them battle to the death? And on today's video, we will be discussing a Dragon Ball What If triple threat battle involving Ascended Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, God of Destruction Toppo, and Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, in seeing as to how each character would be able to fare up against the other, and also seeing what the community had to say in regards as to who would emerge as the last man standing in the end. So hold on to your Dragon Balls and strap on tight, because we are going to be diving into another Dragon Ball triple threat What If battle next. If you are new to this channel and enjoy what you see, then don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to receive new and daily content on your mobile devices, desktops, and services that I provide, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. It is a no-holds-barred triple threat battle involving three of the most powerful characters from the Dragon Ball universe, that being Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, and God of Destruction Toppo. And the situation being, what if it was possible for all three of these characters to gather together and battling amongst each other, and seeing which one of these three fighters would emerge as the superior and dominant warrior? And joining me here today to discuss this Dragon Ball What If battle is my good friend SuperSaiyanPaul. Now Paul, I wanted to welcome you back onto the channel, as we are going to be discussing this very intriguing battle, because between the three characters having to be shown, I don't think this would be as easy to figure out as some people would make it out to be. Now, I do believe that with all three of these characters being present, in my opinion, the character with the most to gain out of all of this, I believe, would be Kefla, simply because we saw the amount of Zenkais that Kefla was able to gain. We saw the amount of growth that Kefla had while fighting Goku in his Super Saiyan Blue form, in his Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 form, even going as far as fighting Ultra Instinct Goku and surviving. The only downfall to Kefla was she allowed her blind rage to distract her from the fact that Goku was inevitably setting up for a ferocious Kamehameha, in which he unleashed and causing her elimination. But in this particular fight, there is no ring outs, there is no elimination, it is a fight to the death. And seeing how far Ultra Blue Vegeta had gone in the Tournament of Power, I do believe in terms of battle experience, in terms of overall tenacity, I'm gonna have to give that towards Vegeta. In terms of overall destructive power and having the necessary skill set to completely destroy something, and the idea that that something could be a person or an object, I would give that towards possibly Toppo because of his ability to use God of Destruction energy. But in the long run, I do believe that if this fight were to possibly drag on, I do think that this fight would more or less favor Toppo or Vegeta, given the fact that Kefla's timer on the Potaro would simply burn out. However, seeing as to how much Kefla was able to improve, and seeing her overall cockiness begin to shine, as she even told Goku how she wanted to break her own limits in achieving Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan Blue, I do think that in this fight, the character with the most to gain in this particular scenario would possibly be Kefla, only because we saw the tremendous growth she had against God Goku, Blue Goku, and then ultimately against Ultra Instinct, in causing lots of concern not only within the spectators, but even having the gods themselves talks amongst each other, in witnessing Kefla's overwhelming power begin to shine on through. Now, before we dive any deeper into this discussion, I wanted to go on ahead and get the community's reaction as to what everyone else thinks would happen if this particular fight were to go down. And if you guys are not following me on Snapchat or Instagram, you guys can follow me at Snapchat at UnrealUniverse and Instagram at UnrealDBZ to further participate in future events such as this. So without wasting any more time, let us go on ahead and dive deeper into the community and seeing what everyone else had to say in regards to Kefla versus Toppo versus Vegeta.
What's up, Alex? Between the triple threat match of God Toppo, Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, and Ultra Blue Vegeta, I think that Ultra Blue Vegeta would take the win, because we've already seen that he could beat God Toppo, and I know that Super Saiyan 2 Kefla was at Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku level because it was stated by Piccolo. But I think Vegeta would take the win because he's just at that point he's just a monster, and I think he has just way more combat experience than Kefla. So Ultra Blue Vegeta for the win.
You already know Ultra Vegeta finna take that dub on both of them. Like, Kefla barely beat Ultra Instinct Goku, and Vegeta in this Super Saiyan Blue is on the same level, almost on the same level.
Yo, what's up, Unreal? This your boy Cruz. I was looking at that battle that you had for Kefla, Toppo, God of Destruction, and Vegeta, Perfected Blue. Well, you know, I think that Kefla has a lot of potential, given the fact that she actually battled with Goku on Ultra Instinct, and as we would have liked to see much for Toppo as God of Destruction, I don't think we actually got much from him. For what we have actually seen is that well, Toppo will be getting out first, and it will be just up to Kefla and Vegeta, and I think that will be just a really great fight. But in the end, Kefla will have more vitality, will end up whooping, you know, Vegeta's ass. And it will be just really close.
Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. I'll see you later, Alex. I'm heading to work.
I think Vegeta would win because he easily beat Toppo in his Kai form, and I believe Toppo is stronger than Kefla.
This is Vincent Montrose, and I believe Ultra Blue Vegeta would win since he has already beaten Toppo Hakaishin, and I believe Toppo Hakaishin would beat Kefla because of his God of Destruction's powers.
Yo, UnrealEntGaming, my predictions for Super or Ultra Blue Vegeta, Kefla, and Hakaishin Toppo, I feel like it's gotta go to Vegeta. Honestly, he beat out Toppo. Yeah, Kefla might be the oddball out, but I still give it to Prince Vegeta. Prince to all Saiyans, bro.
Yo, what's up, Alex? Just wanted to say I love this new idea. You're putting your fans, viewers in your videos. You're like one of the only YouTubers that actually responds to people. Like on the comments, you'll like it or you'll comment back. So thank you for that. You're the best. Also, as far as this battle, Kefla, Vegeta, Toppo, I'm gonna have to go with Vegeta. We already kind of saw what he could do with Toppo, and he kind of busted that ass.
This is Matthew Enigma. I was following up in your video between Kefla, Ultra Blue Vegeta, and God Toppo, and honestly, I'll go with Kefla just for the sheer reason that Vegeta is about Kaioken times twin level or a little higher. Toppo is on par with Ultra Blue Vegeta, and Kefla is literally the only one that pushed Goku to Ultra Instinct or UI, what you gonna call it, and UI is arguably a lot stronger than Ultra Blue or Hakaishin Toppo in my opinion. I don't think anyone can deny that or argue that. So my final answer is Kefla on this one.
When is probably, I'm betting my money on Blue Vegeta. Why? Because I mean, he obviously just broke his limits. I mean, he may not be Ultra Instinct and all, but he's pretty freaking strong, and even with the Final Explosion in his arsenal and all the Final Flash, Big Bang, etc., I'm pretty sure Vegeta's got this in the bag. So
hey Alex, so for your three-man battle, I ultimately think Vegeta will win because to start off, Kefla would just get eliminated immediately because she's irrelevant, and I didn't really like her character back in Super, and I think this Toppo, he would just demolish her because, you know, he got the God of Destruction power. So the real battle would be between Vegeta and Toppo, and I think that would be a great battle. And then to the end, my man's Vegeta would come out clutch and show the true Ultra Blue power and why he the best Saiyan of all. Bum Goku.
Now, after having to listen to what the community had to say, Paul, what are your overall thoughts as to who you believe would have the upper hand in this fight? What are your overall thoughts as to who you believe would have the advantage, who you believe would be the wild card in this battle? And simply put, if this were to happen, and if this fight were to take place, who do you believe would walk away as the sole survivor by the end of this battle?
I would have to lean toward Kefla being the major wild card out of the three. The most stable fighter would have to be Vegeta, and I would put Toppo at the very bottom, because with the way Saiyans are always improving, especially with how Vegeta and Kefla were handled, them getting power buffs in this tournament, and I feel like Toppo was still stagnant from before, even in the exhibition matches. He did have a lot of untapped into power, but later on Vegeta gets more power from his buff, and then Kefla, especially because of what happened in this tournament, how fast and how many Zenkai boosts that she received, she's the wild card for that, and she just shows the power of Saiyans and why they're the strongest and the force to be reckoned with. So if I was to pit her against Vegeta, Vegeta being like the older one and him being like the elder Saiyan out of the two, him against Kefla, I don't think he'd be able to beat her. Honestly, with how fast she was powering up and how much plot armor she had as well, I have a feeling since it took a UI Goku to defeat her, I don't feel like Vegeta was quite there at the very end of the Dragon Ball Super Tournament power. I feel like Vegeta could eventually reach there. However, a fusion character with that much plot armor was just too much for both of them, and Toppo wouldn't even come near that, because if it took a UI Goku to defeat that, and I feel like UI Goku would have defeated Toppo, Kefla was on another level. I feel like she's at the highest, then it would have to be Vegeta, then Toppo, if they were all three to fight.
So, in terms of raw power, are you saying that Kefla would stand above everybody else? Because the way I would look at this is, I definitely think that Kefla would be the wild card in the idea that she would grow the fastest, as we saw in her fight with UI Goku, in her fight with, you know, Super Saiyan Blue Goku. But the thing about Vegeta that's most interesting is Vegeta was able to pretty much break through Toppo's Hakai energy, which we saw how Toppo's Hakai energy was completely able to erase anything it touched. And that was in a setting to where you're not allowed to kill. In this case, you're allowed to kill. So if Toppo had the means to use his Hakai energy to the max and to the fullest of his potential against both Kefla and Vegeta, I don't see it to where it'll be relatively easy for anybody to hold it back, as say where we saw Vegeta push it back with his final explosion, where we saw Frieza get engulfed and then ended up surviving. I think that, you know, Toppo's Hakai energy would be scaled a bit higher in a means of a death fight, because here you have nothing to lose. And I feel like with casual attacks, it would be kind of one-sided for Toppo and Vegeta, because we saw how Toppo in the anime was able to go toe-to-toe with Vegeta while under his Ultra Super Saiyan Blue form and beat him around, enforcing Vegeta and using the final flash and then ultimately the final explosion. But I do think that in terms of willpower, despite what happens in this fight, Vegeta will have the most amount of willpower and the most amount of ambition in coming back in this fight, even if he's beaten down. However, in terms of, let's say in terms of strategy between all three characters, I think that the strategic side would have to go towards Vegeta, because Vegeta has more experience, and I think that Vegeta would play a key factor in trying to get the better of Kefla and Toppo in regards of, like, you know, tactical kind of fighting. But, you know, looking at it from like an overall standpoint, between the three characters, who would you say, or at least how would you rank these characters from the ones that have the most amount of advantages in this fight to the ones that have the least amount of advantages going into this battle with, you know, Toppo, Vegeta, and Kefla?
In terms of most amount of advantages, alright, so if Vegeta would have the veteran type of knowledge in terms of battle experience and strategy, that would probably, and plus he still has a bit of Zenkai boosts, if you guys want to count that, like in terms of like being the ability to like maybe even being buffed in mid-fight.
Right.
He has that, just same as Kefla, because he's a Saiyan. I think between the three, it would have to be the Saiyans that still have the upper hand with their just massive amount of battle experience, plus their ability to increase on the fly in terms of power.
So you would still scale you would still scale Toppo beneath Vegeta in terms of having the advantage in this fight, just based off of what we know about the Saiyans in terms of them getting Zenkais and coming back, right?
I have a feeling, yeah, that's what I would give it, because Toppo wouldn't be able to adapt as quickly, and I feel like with the Dragon Ball Super Series, especially the tournaments, being able to adapt on the fly is probably one of the biggest advantages you could have ever. Every main villain's had it. Every major moment in Dragon Ball Super, in these tournaments especially, being able to adapt is probably the best ability you could have. And combining that with strategy, that also comes into play here. But Kefla, with that much of an ability to adapt, she adapted past needing any strategy whatsoever, and just launching attacks was enough for her. So
I also do believe that, looking at it from the Potara retcon standpoint, if you want to adapt the timer, I think that Kefla would not be able to get the job done on time, considering her lust for growth, because we saw how much she wanted to grow from Goku. She even told him, wouldn't you want me to see me become Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan Blue? And I feel like in this fight, she would definitely want to grow more in learning more about Vegeta, in learning more about the powers of a god. And I feel like the only thing that might, you know, be Kefla's downfall in the long run would be the timer. Unless she can get the job done, I feel like that would be a major problem, because if you want to give her the 1 hour time factor, that's fine, because with Vegeta Blue in the anime and the manga only lasted a short amount of time because of the overwhelming power he was putting out while under that fused state, because he wasn't a deity, he's not a god. So with that being said, do you believe that the Potara retcon timer would come into play, and do you think that based on her attitude, that would be her downfall? Considering that I do think that I would also place Kefla at a huge advantage in the idea that unless Toppo and Vegeta can come up with something that could penetrate, you know, Kefla's defenses and really breaking her down, I think that Kefla would stand above both of them. And I think that in terms of Zenkais, in terms of just raw tenacity, I think that Kefla stands just way above both of them. But I think that if you want to adapt the Potara time factor in this, do you believe that that would be her biggest downfall, in the idea that she would go into this fight with Ultra Blue Vegeta and Toppo, fighting them, wanting to grow, toying around with them, and then ultimately leading that to her downfall because of, you know, her arrogance and her cockiness and the Potara's burning out? Or do you think that she would still be able to get the job done?
I have a feeling that she still might be able to get the job done regardless of the time frame. The only thing that I think would be the main detriment to her would be her ego. That, like you brought it up, like her wanting to get more power out of the fight, I think that would be her biggest weakness. But then again, that is a weakness for Vegeta in some ways or shapes or form as well. A Saiyan weakness, if anything. But with that being the case here, I still have a feeling that she would still take the reins here and take the fight into her own hands. And as much as I want Vegeta to actually win, I think I'd be rooting for Vegeta over her. I still have a feeling that she'd be constantly increasing, and even if Vegeta increased in terms of power and adapted, she'd find some way. Unless Vegeta found some way to get into Ultra Instinct, that would be a different story. But for the way with Ultra Blue's given here and with Toppo here, I feel like they seem more stagnant than she does. She feels like she's just like a free spirit, like in terms of power, like she's going to constantly grow and outgrow them at like a youthful pace, versus the other two who are still kind of cemented where they are at. So
now let's say, for example, if Toppo were to utilize the Hakai Blast as he did with Frieza on Kefla, do you think that it would have the same effect to where she would, you know, either sustain heavy damage or she would succumb to the overwhelming power of the Hakai? Because if we go back and looking at how destructive the Hakai Blast was against Frieza, it literally knocked him out of his golden form. It's clear as day that Toppo, you know, he made it evident that he could have killed Frieza, but he decided not to. But in this case, since this is a triple threat death battle, if Toppo were to utilize that Hakai energy and it were to engulf Kefla as a whole, would you say that, in your opinion, it would completely eradicate Kefla? Or do you believe that she would sustain some damage and coming back into the fight stronger? Because with that blast alone, it's different than, you know, Toppo's regular blasts. As pointed out by 17, when he was putting up his barrier, he made it, you know, he made it very clear in saying that even Toppo's regular energy has increased tremendously, in the idea that even when Vegeta fought against Toppo again, Vegeta couldn't even believe that he fought the same guy, because as quoted, you know, Vegeta said, "I can't believe it's the same guy I fought." What a massive difference. And this is a candidate to be a Hakaishin. So let's say in a fight like this, if Toppo were to unleash that Hakai energy on Kefla and Kefla were to succumb to it, would she bounce back, or would she sustain heavy damage going into that fight?
I have a feeling with the plot armor and the way her character has been in this Tournament of Power, if you take the same exact character, I have a feeling she'd find a way to break out of it and increase her power yet again. I feel like Toppo, out of the three of them, would become the fodder character, with Vegeta and her being the ones to square off in terms of like Saiyan lineage and heritage, in terms of their ability to adapt against one another. And I feel like Vegeta would have a point to prove that they're the young bloods and I'm the elder, I'm the veteran. I have to show you guys what it truly means to be a Saiyan. Goku did a similar thing, and I think that's why Goku ended up winning in the very end. So even with that given out here, Goku still had Ultra Instinct at the time. With Kefla having all of this plot armor, I think she'd be able to escape the Hakai. I think she'd still be able to beat Vegeta the way things were given. And with her being able to beat either one, if she was able to beat either Toppo or Vegeta, it's an automatic win for the other one or the latter. So Kefla would reign number 1 still in my head. Vegeta, we already know, could beat Toppo, and even if the Hakai was unleashed at its fullest, I still feel like either they would be able to tank it or dodge it in terms of their speed or defense.
Now, in terms of advantages and disadvantages, before we close this off, what kind of advantages and disadvantages do you think each individual character would have going into this fight, in your opinion?
The main disadvantage for Kefla would be her ego and timing. In terms of the Potara timing, if she lets her ego get a hold of her, she's going to let that timer run out. And if she gets cocky or a little bit too cocky, she could get knocked out of the fusion, if anything. Vegeta, his ego is also in there as well. He could get blindsided from the fact that she might be stronger than her, or think that he's stronger than her anyways, just because he's older and he's a much wiser Saiyan in terms of battle experience. With Toppo, his detriment would be he can't adapt as easily as these other fighters, and if you can't adapt, you can't stand one-to-one with these characters, and we've seen that happen. That was his ultimate downfall with Vegeta. Vegeta came out of nowhere with his fully powered Super Saiyan Blue transformation, and he just wasn't able to fare up against it. So that's the detriments towards them. The advantages, it's still in the Saiyans' corners though, because of their ability to adapt.
I definitely agree that Toppo would possibly be the first person to go down, considering how both Vegeta and Kefla have so much more to gain because of the idea that they're Saiyans and they have to gain more Zenkais and they have the ability to increase in power, arguably more so than anybody else, and that's been proven in Dragon Ball in seeing how much Goku has grown, Vegeta has grown, Trunks, you know, Gohan, and now going into this fight, I don't think that Toppo would get completely fodderized. I think that if Toppo were to play his cards right, he would definitely be a problem looking at how much power he would have as a god of destruction or a candidate to be, but I simply feel that in the long run, if it were not for plot, Kefla would have gained tremendous amounts of increase in power, and seeing how much she was relevant to Super Saiyan Blue Goku and being able to beat him around with complete ease, and then even being able to withstand Ultra Instinct attacks, even though it wasn't from a mastered UI, she was still able to bounce back from that. And I do believe that Kefla, in my opinion, far supersedes Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 and Ascended Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, which would kind of give her the advantage, because let's say she were to be at a disadvantage with her ego having to come into play and for her to toy around, I do think that in terms of Zenkai boosts, she would most likely gain the most amount of power increases in this fight, and if she's able to endure the power of a God of Destruction and an Ascended Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and come back from that, I think that with her power increase, she would be a huge problem. So in the end, guys, let us know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. What are your overall thoughts on Super Saiyan 2 Kefla versus Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta versus Hakaishi and Toppo? Who do you guys believe would emerge the winner by the end? Let us know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys have missed out the previous battle to this, be sure to go on ahead and check out the Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black versus Golden Frieza versus Hit video, as we are going to be working on a third installment for this triple threat battle in the foreseeable future. So make sure you guys are following me on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram to be notified whenever another battle is going to be taking place. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, if you guys are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Cue my outro, bitch.